Okay, our next speaker is Dr. Tim Jenny, and actually Dr. Burden is also they're going to tag team this next one for Gretchen Haas-Bethell. So Dr. Jenny, we'll let you go first.
Some things haven't changed. Say that. Well, hi, and good afternoon. Dr. Burden, Dr. Hartzler, members of the Board of Education, past and present, and all of you who have come to pay tribute to the retirees, and most especially, congratulations to you, Gretchen. As I remember so many good things about Union school system, I reflect back on the professionalism and commitment of the person who was standing right by my side nearly 27 years ago, bringing with her the incomparable work ethic. Gretchen's 15 years in broadcasting enabled her to communicate the magic of Union schools and work tirelessly for 42 years. You know, a superintendent always needs a rock communications expert, one who serves as a true North Star. Gretchen, as our Director of Communication, you were undoubtedly that. And during those times when the district found itself on the verge of being consumed by the politics or the constituents' demands or the slings and arrows of microscopic scrutiny, it was you, Gretchen, who would recognize us all by asking the necessary, important questions, and we appreciate that. For 27 years, you have continued to provide the critical leadership for the Union School District. During the span of Gretchen's career, there have been so many new and complex communication tools. When Gretchen started in the school business in 1990, she was communications director, and our constituents relied purely on broadcast and print media for their information. No internet, no website, no email, and no social media. A parent portal was just a dream. Gretchen successfully led the school district through the explosion of communication options available to public schools. In 2002, Gretchen was recognized as a true pioneer in the School of Communications when she was awarded the first ever statewide award for Distinguished School Public Relations. Gretchen has literally changed the academic and physical landscape of communications over the course of her career. She touched every student activity and new academic program. She was especially vital to raising millions for facilities through her work on the numerous successful bond issues. I can tell you without question that Gretchen's leadership stamp is on every great initiative at Union over the past 27 years. I knew Gretchen for her friendship, her skills in leadership, her loyalty, innovation, compassion, and ability to see the big picture. I hope you've also had the chance to experience Gretchen's incredible sense of humor. Here are a few examples that will show you her humor and perhaps keep her a bit humble. Some things you just can't believe. She was busy that time.
Stop it.
That's my favorite. That showed up at my doorstep. So it was something. As a dad, I'm especially grateful that she loves student activities, and she chaired the Public Relations Committee for the National Student Council Convention in 1995. Why? Because my son was her student chair. The time he spent with Gretchen helped direct his future career choices, And Gretchen, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. In closing, I am reminded of the lyrics of a song from the musical Wicked, and I believe they capture my message to Gretchen. Here are only a few lines from the song. I have heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn. And we are led to those who help us most to grow, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Who can say I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. Congratulations.
What a beautiful sentiment. Gee, I wish I could sing my part. Gee, that's hard to follow. Gretchen, you are a legend in the communications profession and probably the most respected woman in public school communications in the state of Oklahoma. It seems like everyone knows Gretchen. They admire her work, and when it comes to integrating and handling all of the various aspects of public information, her clarity and judgment is recognized as the best. Gretchen has brought us a long way from that old print shop and copy shop in the back of the old ESC. Remember those days? It's been a great ride, but boy, we had a long way to come. Thanks to Gretchen, the Union brand is respected, classy, and our patrons have always appreciated a continuous flow of information and transparency. Though Gretchen's expertise came from radio and journalism, she's actually been an educator at heart and got her master's degree in education to make sure that she had the credentials to speak on behalf of all of us in education. She put us through the ringer. Every new administrator who came to Union had that microphone placed in front of their face and that time in front of the camera because she wanted all of us to look good. She wanted us all to express ourselves in Union style, and she tried to teach us from the very beginning. As much as I've always admired Gretchen's professional expertise, however, her guidance has been tremendous, there's no question, but it's been her personal qualities that I've admired the most. How one handles herself in diversity and adversity, of course, really is telling of one's strength of character and heart. That day, when all of the cabinet members went over to sign a silly beam to go in the top of the UMAC, was a day that I'll never forget. Gretchen and I were standing right next to each other, and Gretchen was right to my left, and her foot caught the brunt of a 2-ton steel beam that hit her foot when it fell. I'm here to tell you this is the strongest, toughest lady I know. She endured unbelievable pain. She endured multiple surgeries, and this led to frustration after frustration to heal, but she never complained. She never lost heart, and that never say die attitude was the kind of thing that exemplified what she did every single day in her job as well. She never quit on bond issues. Her campaigns, scheduled from the day of the vote backwards in time, taught me that we would always persevere to get the message out to sell our message to the voters, and always we'd had a strong position. She was also incredibly supportive and helpful when it came to telling that message to the politicians who needed to hear. Do you remember, Gretchen, when we just opened Cedar Ridge Elementary School and they'd shortchanged us in the budget for about 350 kids? Cedar Ridge was perfectly built for it. We had 350 kids at Cedar Ridge at that time. We put them down in the library. We wanted the governor, but he finked out and didn't come. So instead he sent the Secretary of Education, and we had the entire room filled with media, and we had a curtain up. And when we were just about ready to hit them hard with the numbers of students that we had been shortchanged in terms of our financial deficit, right. We opened the curtain and there were 350 of the cutest faced little kids looking up from Cedar Ridge into the foyer, all with sweet smiles on their face, and they had a rope around them all the way. It was so dramatic and powerful. That Secretary of Education went back, and you know, when they passed that legislation, the governor came to Union this time. We set him in a school desk, and he signed the bill, making sure that all students in Oklahoma got their fair share of financing. We need that again, Dr. Hartzler. This lady really knew how to do a press conference, send a message, and make people listen. I want you to know that with her help, Union continues to fight the good fight, and I know that she's taught all of her staff to continue with that kind of legacy. I thank you, Gretchen, for your leadership. I thank you for your wisdom, and I thank you for your friendship. We've had some fun times together. You and the voice of Union, Bob Bethell, have been so important to defining the Union way. Best wishes during retirement, and I love you forever.
I think I'm speechless. Thank you, Dr. Burden, for 19 years of your leadership. How lucky I am to have worked with you so very closely and to kind of follow, learn from such a talented and effective leader. I love your smooth, forceful tenacity. People just think she talks softly, but she carries a big stick, I gotta tell you. There's a reason that you have and you continue to accomplish as much as you have. I'm grateful to you, Dr. Hartzler, for your leadership and devotion to the district, for fighting the fight. You're in there. You have emerged as the voice of reason, the voice of get it done to the state legislature. Your editorials are incredible, and keep it up. I admire you so much. Dr. Jenny, thank you so much, so very much, for your thoughtful comments. I'm grateful for my time serving on your team. Thank you for being one of the toughest bosses and best mentors I've ever had. I'm very lucky that in August of 1990, I answered Union's newspaper advertisement for a director of communication, and that you hired me. I don't think I had ever felt as challenged, worked so hard, or felt as rewarded as I did learning about education. I had found my niche. We talked about, you were 38, I was 37, and you asked me why I was applying to a school district when I was, had a broadcasting background. And I said, because we kind of have a saying in broadcasting, and those of you who are here from my first career, I love the heck that you're here. Thank you so much. But we have a saying that says, we want a real job someday. And I think what that means is doing something that we believe in, not just following and reporting on people who do that. And so I said, well, I didn't want to be, I'm looking 40 in the eyes, and I don't want to be a reporter hitting the streets all my life. And so I guess I convinced you that I was here. You know, I've had a lot of highlights. Campaign for reconfiguring secondary education, which was a big change. We had a 2-story brick building on 61st Street that had been the original union school for kids 1st through 12th grade. And we were about to tear that down and build a new one. That was tough. But we had a wonderful way of doing it. We hosted a reunion, 91 I guess it was, wherein we had people from as far back as we could reach, and those were some people who graduated in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. We had a big reunion there and invited them to celebrate the building with us, and Art Naylor, God rest his soul, emceed. We had Dr. Grove, Robert Grove there. Dr. Jarman was there. So these people our buildings are named after were still living back then, and it was a big deal. So that was certainly a highlight in those years. Another highlight from those early years, I really am still moved from what you both said. Thank you so very much. Working with a White House advance team for when Vice President Dan Quayle visited Union High School to talk about education. And then the renegade, and he didn't have to spell anything, so it worked out nicely. And then the Union Renegade Regiment played for his boss, the first George Bush, when he made a campaign stop at the airport. Gosh, I was proud of our kids. They're so good. I loved working with the high school leadership team under the auspices of Denise Vignatas then, and now Denise Jenny, to compete for and win the bid to host the National Student Council Conference. Welcome to the New Frontier. Annie Oakley comes up on horseback, and I borrowed her outfit for our foundation dinner and auction, so that was fun. But it was fantastic. Our families got together, hosted kids from all over the United States, and were wowed by the reception that Oklahoma gave them, and the Union Way, even back then. In Dr. Burden's tenure, getting my master's in the foundations of education was a highlight. Experiencing a national and international media frenzy, you conveniently left this one out, over a false allegation made the day before Halloween in front of the courthouse downtown that Union had allegedly suspended a middle school student for casting spells and claiming that she was discriminated against for being wicked. We had hundreds of social media postings, front page stories in London tabloids, I'm not kidding, articles in People magazine, and Dr. Burden's daughters even made People magazine because she was pictured with pictures of her daughters in the background, so I'm sure you made them happy then. German TV ran broadcasts of it. The family appeared on every morning talk show at the time. We even had a made-for-TV movie on Lifetime. Now, who can claim that? I mean, that's pretty good, isn't it? More than a year later and thousands of dollars later, we found out from the courts, they proved that it was a frivolous lawsuit, but that didn't make much news. It was a highlight accompanying Dr. Burden to the first presidential inaugural for Barack Obama, staying in Washington, D.C. with my sister and brother-in-law. We bonded there. We got silly. It was fun. And our new friendship in that regard began. And we got to watch our kids, again, march in the inaugural parade. It was the Air Force ROTC. And then having the opportunity to travel to China with Dr. Hartzler and Charlie to look at their schools and learn about their education system. You gotta love this stuff. I mean, it's good. These are all very good memories. And I want to join the accolades that we've heard for my colleagues who are the other four ladies who are retiring. We've made a pact that we're going to get together at least once a month after retirement for lunch. And I don't know about you, have you started getting retirement cards yet? I got one in the mail that I want to share with you because I think it's pertinent to our pledge to each other. It starts out with a question. It says, what do retirees call a long lunch? Normal. How many retirees does it take to change a light bulb? Just one, but it takes all day. What does a retiree often say, or why does a retiree often say, she doesn't miss work, but misses all the people she used to work with? She is too polite to tell the whole truth. But I have to tell you the truth. It is the people who matter. So many of you are here and you're celebrating with us. So many of you have affected my life along the way, and I thank you so very much. Graciousness on your part, gratefulness on my part comes to mind. When I look back, I feel a deep sense of gratitude. I am so grateful to have so many of you in my life and so many of you here today. Some of you from out of town, some of you from high school and college and long-term friendships. I love that one of my daughters, of our two daughters, Karen Pennington and her husband Mike are here to share this special time with me. I'm so glad to have two of my 5 siblings here. I have Deborah Maxwell. Why don't you guys wave? I want them to see you. Deborah Maxwell, who is a retired counselor, and Helen Elliott, a retired Union 7th grade English teacher / former Union 6th grade principal, whose claim to fame regarding Union and me is that she was at Union a lot longer before I was, and that once when I stopped by to see her at the 6th, 7th grade center, a little boy was in her office, and I asked if Mrs. Elliott was in, and he said, yeah, she's in. And then he looked at me and he said, are you two related? I guess we kind of look alike. And I said, yes. And he said, are you her mother? I love it. I'm so grateful for hair color. I'm so grateful for my husband, Bob Bethell, and Dr. Burden mentioned he's the voice of Union. He's been a caring job coach for me since we first met at KWEN Radio. He's known to many of you as the professional sounding voice of Union on our on-hold messages, in our videos, and he's been here with me for 27 years, and I'll tell you, I wish he could be here today, but he can't because he's recovering from an injury. He fell off our back porch and broke both wings and his nose, and he's in rehab right now for his physical injuries. In fact, he gets to come home Wednesday, and I'm very, very excited about that. Okay, I have to tell you what I'm going to miss about my staff. You know, they say the little things mean a lot, and they really do. I'm going to miss my assistant Beverly Thummel's snarky comebacks every time I bark out a list of things I need her to do. I routinely end those lists with a line from Disney's Evil Stepmother to Cinderella. Oh yes, and one more thing. See to it Lucifer gets his bath. And she says, you'd think I'd get the idea, but she's gotten to where she stops me and she says, and I'm not gonna wash that damn cat. Hello. I'll miss our webmaster and photographer Mike Vor's threats to enlarge, but he's already done it, post or use in some other embarrassing way that picture of me sitting on the toilet. When we first moved to our new education service center, they were lined up to be installed, and you know, he's threatened for years to do that. And he gets this really smile on his face and a little twinkle in his eye just thinking about it. I'm going to miss how excited he gets because it's out there. I've done it. And I've survived. Janie Froman isn't here, but I have a story to tell you about Beth, who's videotaping this. Beth is vegan, and she wasn't feeling very well a couple days in a row. And she said something about it at one of our staff meetings. And if you know Janie, this is so appropriate. She said, well, why don't you just eat a hamburger? You'd feel a lot better. You remember that? All right, well, I've talked about so many of our highlights. I just want to tell you one more thing that this greeting card said that I really like. It has to do, it's another question, and I don't think you can come up with the answer for it. What are some of retirees' favorite songs? You can tell we're older. Carly Simon's You're So Varicose Vein. How Can You Mend a Broken Hip by the Bee Gees. The First Time Ever I Forgot Your Face by Roberta Flack. I Can't See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash. Once, Twice, 3 Trips to the Bathroom by the Commodores. I Get By with a Little Help from Depends by the Beatles. And my favorite, from Herman and the Hermits, Mrs. Brown, You Got a Lovely Walker. Thank you all so very much. And Gail and company, thank you so much for this wonderful reception.